Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-October 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. There's going to be a full moon. I'm recording this before October 13th at, well, I don't remember the time, but it's going to be, oh, some people actually, I wonder if it's going to be on the 12th for some people. It doesn't matter. Somewhere along that time frame. And it's going to be at 20 degrees of Aries. So for you, Leo, it's another fire energy. This is your ninth house. Your ninth house. Ninth house is the God house. So it's associated with religion, but also with philosophy. And if you think about it, a person, if you are a very religious person, or you could even say, I would say especially a very religious versus spiritual person, because there are certain tenets or beliefs that comprise your faith. And spirituality is very flowy, you know. It might be kind of like not precise as much as the dogma that we associate with religion. And it's the philosophy house. It's the house of your personal philosophy. So this is why people who are very philosophical are also, you know, they have that in common with people who are religious, because they may live life by a certain set of principles, and therefore it connects with that ninth house. The ninth house is also the house of higher education. So a full moon here, bringing things to culmination, could mean that some people are ending a course of studies, even though it's only October. I don't know how that would, you know, play out. That's kind of a weird time to graduate, but or maybe you decide to end your major. You don't like it and you switch majors or something. But attainment can be associated with the full moon, a harvest, and it's a house of publishing, so maybe something along those lines. And what else? Foreign travel. So either manifesting some sort of trip or ending a trip. Okay. It sounds like it's more like manifesting a trip. Or something, some movement. I've been getting that Ten of Wands a lot lately. Maybe because it's in the fall in North America, or in the Northern Hemisphere, and there's a lot of work. I'm going to pick another card just for the heck of it. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So, we did get several fire sign cards in the form of wands. And of course you're a fire sign, Leo. And fire energy is enterprising, which means that it's something that the person is, you know, very actively pursuing. There's an independence, there's a creativity with fire, you know, autonomy, doing something that is very personal to you and self-empowering, not needing necessarily other people's input. So an entrepreneur certainly goes along with that. And in relationships, there's kind of like that childlike joy. The heart of the matter is the Ace of Wands, and so that's a new endeavor that you're pursuing very enthusiastically. I'm sorry, I just woke up, so it's like I can't even think straight. And it's funny because in my mind I started thinking, okay, enterprising, isn't that, somebody who is, I'm actually not sure what enterprising is. I think it might even be inventive, but I'll have to look that up when I am done here. But anyway, the Ace of Wands speaks of new beginnings. But they're your kind of new beginnings because, you're going all in. You're very excited about it. And looking at the contrast with the past position, we have the Hangman, which is about being in limbo for some reason. Being kind of like put on hold. And I think fire energy in general is impatient. But I think Leos, maybe because you're a fixed sign, I don't think that you're particularly impatient of all the fire signs. So maybe if you really want something, it's not hard for you to wait. It's just that you may be so excited that you want to kind of pursue something. Because I'm getting this as a spiritual message, it almost makes me think it's more of a relationship thing. The higher message is the Four of Wands. This is the card of the happy home or marriage. This is a marriage card. And the Four certainly speaks to that sense of order, foundation. In astrology, the fourth house is the house of the mother and the home. So there is that sense of what that implies, the connection. I when I first started with the tarot and with even like astrology at a deeper level, I didn't know that there were numerological connections. And when I found that out, it was fairly mind-blowing. But it makes it easier to remember the full extent of the card. And so when you know that the number 4 represents foundation, whatever is going on in that card is going to include that. So structure and foundation. And yet, fire energy has an instability built into it. Think about what fire represents. Fire is not something that is easily contained. And that's kind of a good thing in a certain sense for you, Leo, because it means that you always retain that sense of transformative abilities. Fire can transform anything it touches. And actually that's why fire signs are very good at helping other people grow, because they have that transformative energy. And that makes them great life coaches and things like that. And they can rub off the right way on people in terms of helping them to see their potential and do things like that. And so for yourself, though, you are a positive person and you're looking for a positive environment. The Four of Wands as a domestic environment is going to be very positive. So if there's a relationship that you've been waiting for and that gets started in this period in October, it's going to be because it's something that you feel good about. It's not, in other words, it's not something that you're ambivalent about. You're like full steam ahead with this. And if this is a work-related matter, the Four of Wands might be that one of the goals that you're working towards is this ideal domestic setting. So the Four of Wands can be a new home. However, this position is not meant to be like just a mundane prediction. It's meant to look at it at the higher level. So whatever that represents for you, like having a home base that is a comfortable space, a happy space, a space that you feel like is your refuge, might be something that you're working towards with whatever your project is. And I get the feeling that it is more independent than anything else. However, because of the Hangman, excuse me, it might be that you did have to wait for somebody else to make some kind of decision. So you might be working for somebody else, but you still have a lot of autonomy within that type of position, if you do. What crosses you is the Five of Cups. Oh, one more thing that I want to say about this, because I did get a domestic vibe, like even a relationship vibe from this. And when I saw the Five of Cups, because this is a card of grieving the loss of something, and it might be that you're having a hard time fully letting go of something. So an example would be that the Ace of Wands represents your freedom. Maybe you were waiting to get your divorce papers, or waiting for the other party to agree to a divorce, and now you feel this sense of freedom. And that's what the fire energy represents, as I stated. Now, and maybe you have a new lease on life, but that doesn't mean that you still don't have grief. The same thing can apply even with a death, if you are a widow or widower. And I think that some people might take this the wrong way, but if you have been waiting for somebody to pass, to cross over, because maybe they had a very serious, disease, but it was a wasting disease that took a long time. And, while that person may have been suffering even, so were you, if you were put in that position, because you don't want to see your loved ones suffer, and you probably were hoping that they made their transition and were at peace. And so in that case, the higher message is that you always will retain that happiness of that marriage in your, and marriage being that serious relationship in your mind. It's not a question of the person being in the physical or not. Okay. And especially if something is rather recent, that's understandable. That certainly is not beyond the pale to experience the loss of someone. Actually, last month, there was a full moon in your 8th house, which is a house of death. So that could have been a death of somebody close to you. In September, I'm talking about. Okay. What's coming in is the Hermit, and the Hermit, kind of self-explanatory in terms of like kind of being very into yourself, I think I would call it, or what's the word? I was going to say self-reflective, but there's another word. Interior, contemplative. I'm thinking of another word. Sometimes people write down, were you thinking of this word? And I love words. That's why I even agonize over them. But anyway, that sense of reflecting upon your own life, maybe being less social and being more looking back, looking at some of the things that have transpired and seeking that inner wisdom that's not coming from other people's opinions of your situation, which I think is so important. It's not that you can't bounce ideas off of anyone, but there's just a time and a season for that. And maybe right now, the Five of Cups suggests some kind of grief. Grief is simply, sadness of the loss of something. It doesn't have to be like the heaviest thing. I realize the word grief, it sounds so intense. And it doesn't have to be. It can be merely that you are like looking over your life and maybe seeing how certain things have transpired and how you want them to be in the future. And so then I picked as the outcome the 10 of Wands, and this is the card. You see the person is hunched over. In one of my tarot Bibles, Anthony Lewis, Plain and Simple, actually it is my tarot Bible, he calls it the burden of success. And it means that you're working very hard. I have noted in past readings that Leo is a workaholic sometimes, maybe most of the time. And so that may be how you deal with things like grief. But remember, there's a new lease on life here. So something ends and something begins. And it's like you may lose yourself in your work. You may have a lot going on. You may, don't burn the candle at both ends. Don't burn out. But if you love what you do what you love enthusiastically without abandon. And especially if there's some emotional stuff that has come up and you don't want to ruminate. You don't want to just keep focusing on that, something that you can't change. I think one of the reasons that death is so traumatic is because we can't control it. And it's the one thing, we can't control. But it's also, the death card is a card of transformation. Because death is a transformation. And it not only transforms the individual who is experiencing it, but those around him or her. So I picked an additional card, and I got the Tower, and this is a card of like being released from something. So again, that idea of maybe, the Hangman is like being in limbo, being forced to wait, this kind of passivity, and then boom, the Ace of Wands. It's like the starting gate, that gun for when you start the race goes off, and all of a sudden you're in the thick of it, back in the race. And you're racing towards autonomy, which is freedom, Leo. You're racing towards joy, playfulness, all these qualities that you possess. Maybe you haven't had that for a while. Maybe you've had some quite challenging situations that you've had to kind of endure, and that the Hangman, the Hangman is associated with Neptune, and there's a sacrificial sense giving up something of your life for somebody else sometimes. It's like Christ on the cross. And therefore, because it's so associated with Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces. And there's a sacrificial quality in Pisces. And same with the Hangman, representing perhaps taking care of somebody who ended up leaving this world. Or even waiting for a divorce. You had to kind of let go of the need to control the situation. And now it's like you're released from prison. That's how I see the Tower card now. I've really, and the same thing with the Death card. I love the Death card now. I don't fear it. I don't worry about ending a reading with the Death card or the Tower anymore, because I know that it is not bad, and so that it's actually amazing. So, and freeing, which is a great thing. So that's what I have for you, Leo. I hope that you resonated with at least a portion of this reading. If you'd like a personal reading, check me out. I have extended my natal chart interpretation readings. Those are my longest readings, 1 hour. And you can check that out below this video. I hope that you have a very exciting new beginning in your life coming up. Take care. Bye.